Some cities chase their dreams. In Huntsville, we strap it to a rocket and send it off into orbit. Welcome to the Rocket City. Welcome back to What's So Smart. I'm Kayla, and today we are visiting the U.S. Space and Rocket Center to learn a little bit more about our namesake, the Rocket City. This namesake was coined decades ago, and most people in the community might not know how that came to be. Although if you're from here, I'm guessing you have a good idea. Now, if you're new to Huntsville, if you're moving to Huntsville, or maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of Huntsville, this video is going to explain just how this North Alabama city was put on the map for space exploration. Now, I chose to come to the Space and Rocket Center for two reasons. One, the obvious. It's clearly a great place to start if you want to learn about our community's space history. But two, it's also home to one of the most iconic experiences you can find in the entire country, space camp. When you visit the Space and Rocket Center, the first thing you should do is think about your tickets. You can purchase them online. We have that link in the description below, or you can purchase them in person. Upon arrival, you'll want to park in the first major parking lot on your left. The museum entrance is signified by this blue arch. You'll notice the cool statues along the entrance path that share some cool information about our planets and just space in general. You'll enter through the gift shop, which, by the way, has some of the coolest merch you can find. Things like NASA spacesuits, pet accessories, games, even baby clothes. Tickets can be obtained just past the gift shop at this kiosk right here, and once those are purchased, you are free to enter the museum.
So I think some of the most notable things that we have here at the Rocket Center, there's the really big obvious one, which is the Saturn V that's located in the Davidson Center. It's one of only 3 existing Saturn Vs in the world, and it's the only one that has all 3 of its pieces that sort of came from the same intended vehicle. Another one that's a little less obvious as well is in our rocket park, we have a green Redstone missile. And it turns out, as we were doing refurbishment of that missile a couple of years ago, we discovered that it was the very first production unit of the Redstone missile line. So it was built as unit number 1 up in Michigan, designed and tested down here, and then it was used on the Arsenal as a training hardware. So it was never intended to fly, but it was used to kind of train up the troops that might use them out in the field.
Some of my favorite exhibits include the outdoor rocket park, which we actually featured in a previous What's So Smart video. But I also like the How We Know the Weather Lab, which has a ton of information about weather analytics and data in space. It actually features our local meteorologists too, which is a pretty cool way to tie in the local appeal. Of course, there are also simulators and theaters you can access with an additional charge. Plus, there's a food court to help feed your hungry family during a visit. The Space and Rocket Center is no secret to Huntsville. In fact, it's been featured nationally since its opening. One reason for that is because it's home to the original space camp.
One of the sort of patrons, the founding patrons of the museum was Wernher von Braun. And of course, he was instrumental in the development of the Redstone missile, the Saturn V and the Apollo program and all these historic things. His vision was to have the Rocket Center be a sort of a public face for NASA, for the Army, for other things happening in the area at the time. And in and around those conversations, the lore is that he was talking with our first CEO, Ed Buckby, and he was really interested in the idea of developing a camp that would feature space exploration and rocketry. So he was kind of the idea there's horse camps and there's swimming camps and there's this camp and that camp, camping, camps like the Boy Scouts do and Girl Scouts do. Why isn't there a math and science or a space camp? And that was kind of what cemented the idea in Ed Buckby's mind, and he just kind of took that and moved it forward until in 1982 we opened up space camp here in Huntsville, and it just kind of grows from there with a major motion picture, and now we've got a space camp in Turkey, and we're a brand that's known all over the world.
Huntsville's history in space dates back as far as the 1950s, and our economy has embraced it ever since. Thousands of Huntsville residents work in the space industry, and a good percentage of those have actually attended space camp. Even one of the astronauts set to launch in the Artemis II mission is a space camp graduate.
When you look into like aerospace and NASA, Our alums are in engineering, they're in the sciences part of it, they're in the manufacturing part of it, and of course we have astronauts like Christina Koch coming up for Artemis 2. You know, it kind of gives you a little bit of a leg up going into your education and you're thinking about your career that I think can make these folks really successful, and I think we've proven it out with the various astronaut alums and all the alums that we have in such prominent places and firms kind of throughout the country.
If you grew up in Huntsville, there's a good chance you took a field trip to Space Camp or to the museum at some point in time. It's honestly a great advantage to living in the Rocket City. If you're wanting to take a real deep dive, you should look up the notable alum from Space Camp to see just how successful this experience is. Plus, if you missed the opportunity growing up, they now offer adult Space Camp for individuals looking to learn more.
I had a 70-year-old gentleman on my team who spent a lot of his time in his 20s and 30s kind of really fascinated by the space program, but he was sort of too late into his career and education to do anything. So here he was coming as a senior to attend one of the adult space camp programs and living out this dream of his that he knew he was too old to accomplish for real, but he had heard what our experience was like and everything and came here and just had the best time. I mean, he might have been older than the rest of the group, but he did everything else that everybody did and just was fantastic to have as a team member. And he just, you know, that level of joy of that experience for him really rubbed off on everybody else in the group, and he left just grinning ear to ear.
This place really has so much history, it's hard to cover it all just in one video. But luckily for you, we have done a few videos on our history in space, and you can find those videos right here on our channel. Now, if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our upcoming videos, including our next one, which made national news a few years back. Don't miss it. I'll see you there. Bye.